Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, as you can see, members on both sides of the aisle know of people in our districts, our states, and across our country that have been tragically affected by opioid abuse and overdose. I want to thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for their work on this legislation, especially my friend from Indiana, Ms. Brooks. I rise in strong support of H.R. 4641. This is a very important bipartisan step forward to combat opioid abuse. This issue hits close to home, all of our homes. The state of Oregon ranked near the top or at the top for non-medical use of prescription pain relievers in the nation. With opioid prescriptions serving as a gateway to heroin, it's no surprise that deaths from drug overdoses have surpassed those of car accidents in my state. Last week in Medford and Bend and Hermiston, I hosted roundtables with community leaders and affected families talk about what they're seeing on the front lines. Physicians, first responders, members of law enforcement, families, all were there sharing their stories about how important the work we're doing here today is to them and our communities. All of them are on the ground combating this problem every day. We had excellent discussions. H.R. 4641, in addition to the 17 other bipartisan bills we're voting on this week, will help combat this epidemic. This bill will help prevent lawful prescription use from spiraling into abuse by developing best practices for the treatment of pain. In Medford, I heard from a father who had seen the impacts of addiction on his own family. See, his sister, who was a nurse, died of an overdose after years of suffering from addiction and bouncing between pharmacies passing off forged prescriptions. He spoke about how better tracking and treatment could have helped catch his sister's problem earlier and perhaps made counseling more effective. As it was, she was only caught because two pharmacies in a small town happened to check with each other. You see, by then, it was too late. And today, this man's working to help his son with an addiction that started with a prescription for a high school sports injury. That drifted to a heroin addiction. He spoke to the importance of counseling, support, and trying to avoid addiction through better prescribing practices. Echoing those sentiments, a therapist I spoke to in Hermiston, Oregon, experienced 10 years of addiction of opioids after she was prescribed a painkiller for a broken foot. And then, when she tried to overcome this addiction, she could not find any help. So she traveled more than 5 hours from Milton-Freewater, Oregon to Marysville, Washington, because she couldn't find a physician in her region that could prescribe Suboxone, an important medicine to help people break free from opioids. Addiction is an equal opportunity destroyer, Mr. Speaker. It crosses all segments and regions of our country, and often the disease shows no symptoms. I congratulate my colleagues for their work, and I urge passage of this legislation.